Well, my reaction is again, it's the state of California taking away our local control. I'm elected by the people for the people. We're talking about the gubernatorial election year versus the presidential election year. There is a small difference in turnout. That's obvious. But we put Measure A on the ballot in a presidential election year. It was here in the March primary, 2024. The voters spoke. Over 55% of the voters that voted in that election chose to keep the sheriff and DA elections on the gubernatorial election cycle. So what I don't understand is here we are with Sacramento telling us what to do, but yet the voters passed it. And again, this is money that I believe is being wasted by the state of California by their overreach to control local government.
Sure. If I could ask a follow-up, right? What the state has done essentially gives you 2 more years in your office, right? And there would be folks who say you should be happy with that, right? Your term was automatically extended really without any doing on your part. Why fight this? Why do you think it's so important to remain for these elections to remain during the gubernatorial cycle?
Well, I think it's important, as you can see right now with the presidential election that's going on, people lose focus on local issues. I mean, you could see that. I mean, the media is bombarded with, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. And people need to listen to what the issues are locally. They need to hear from those that are either elected or running for these positions. And they need to get that message. My concern is that now you put it in the presidential election year, it's going to cost more money to buy ads, to run the elections, and things of that nature. Yeah, I'm happy with 2 more years. I don't think anybody is saying, yes, I want to go out and campaign sooner. But again, it's what's best for the people of Fresno County. And here we are in a presidential election year. The Board of Supervisors voted 5-0 to put this on the ballot. It was put on the ballot. It passed by the vote of the people. I was not out campaigning one way or the other. I didn't spend any money to try to get people to vote to keep it 4 years. I didn't do anything. I let the people make that decision. My constituents, our voters in Fresno County have spoken, and the state should respect that. But again, it's almost as though they don't care about our voice. Just like when they passed gas taxes and other things in Sacramento, and our voices are never heard, the people are never allowed to speak. And this is a prime example of that. Our budget's, significantly in the red in the state of California, but yet they're willing to spend money to fight this because they didn't like the outcome. And again, that's money that could be spent on public safety. That's money that could be spent on schools, but we're going to spend it to fight the will of the people in Fresno County.
Why do you think that they don't like the outcome? Is that because they want this to be during presidential elections when more Democrats turn out? What do you think their reasoning is for this?
That's a theory that I've heard many people say. I will tell you here in Fresno County, Democrats and Republicans, they vote for public safety. They typically do not look for the partisanship when it comes to elections for sheriff and for district attorney. So, but again, their argument's flawed. They want to have the election in a presidential election year. We just had the election for Measure A in a presidential election year, and it passed to keep the sheriff and DA races on the gubernatorial election. So what next? Lawsuit, because the vote didn't turn out the way. If they're so thinking that people are going to be supportive of their 6-year term in a presidential election year, it didn't work out for them for Measure A. And that's why it passed, because of the will of the people here in Fresno County. Well, I believe that the state law under the AB759 stated it was passed in September of 2022, which was after the June primaries in 2022 took place, when myself and the district attorney were elected into our current terms. So they're saying that passed in September, this measure by the county of Fresno did not go to the ballot until March of 2024. There is language in there that says that the charter, it has to be specified or outlined when the sheriff and DA elections are, because we are a charter county, which gives us different rights under the state of California Constitution. So I've looked, and one thing you can say is we have always held the sheriff and DA elections on the gubernatorial election years. That's in our, bylaws of the county. It's within what the clerk's office, the elections office has on record. So I think it's pretty well outlined. I think people know when it is. Again, it doesn't seem to make sense that you would have an election, elect people in, and then turn around and say, oh, we're changing it. And you're right. Like I said before, who wouldn't be happy with an extra 2 years? But let's look at what the people of Fresno County want. They vote me in. They vote the DA in. They vote all of our elected leaders in. We're in a presidential election year. In the March primary, over 55% of the voters elected to pass Measure A and keep the election on the gubernatorial election cycle.
Where do you believe this will go next?
Well, now that a lawsuit has been filed by Attorney General Bonta and the Secretary of State, Shirley, I'm sure it will go to a court and they will review our charter, look at the charter county bylaws and how they apply to the Constitution of the state of California, because the charter counties, as stated in our memo earlier, put out by our county counsel, Dan Cedarborg, we do have different rights as a charter county. So it's going to go to court and we'll see how it plays out in court. At the end of the day, I'm here to serve the people. And whether the election's in 2026 or 2028, I'm ready. I believe the majority of the people think I'm doing a good job and will vote for me and support me. So really, to me, it's not a big deal. I feel bad for the people here in Fresno County who voted, and now their vote is being disregarded by those in state government.
What do you think is the reasoning behind trying to change when the elections come with these elections?
I think the change is there's a false narrative out there that you're going to get more people to turn out and vote on a presidential election year, and that you want to have the sheriff and DA elections on those years so you get the maximum amount of voter turnout, which is understandable. But in my opinion, all government positions, the governor, any of these positions are important. City council, board of supervisors, why single out just the DA and the sheriff? If it's so important to get high voter turnout, then why not have every election in the state of California on a presidential election year so you can get the most turnout and the best representation of our people? But to me, it seems like they're singling out sheriffs and DAs for political purposes, for political motives. And that's because those in the state legislature have less control of sheriffs and DAs based on how the state constitution in California is set up. So this is a way that they can replace some of these people that they can't control in hopes of putting people in there that are more like-minded or think like them, or people that they can control from the state level. One thing I wanted to mention in closing is that I'm not out pushing this narrative one way or the other. I'm letting the people speak. I let the people speak. And if you look at my campaign, I am actually listed as John Zanoni for Sheriff 2028. So once the law was changed and approved by Governor Newsom, I went with that and I changed my campaign designation from 26 to 28. So I'm doing everything to be a rule follower, to comply with the law. I just want to do what's best for the people. And the people had spoken. I hadn't changed it back. It's still 2028. I'm ready to run in 2026. But just so you know, I'm not pushing this one way or the other. I want to do what's right for the people of Fresno County. And I always feel like letting people vote, letting them speak, their voices be heard, They voted 55%. It passed. Now that's being taken away from them. And I don't believe it's proper and it's unconstitutional what's happening. If the state of California didn't like this, my question to Shirley Weber is, why did you certify the election results from Fresno County if in fact you felt that this vote was not proper, illegal, or unconstitutional? You certified those results. Therefore, we have a certified election. Measure A is very specific. It keeps it on the gubernatorial election year. And I believe the people have spoken. I'm not sure how they can go back on that because of the laws of the state of California and the election process. That's just where I stand on it. People have spoken. Let's move forward, have the election in 2026, do what's best for the residents of Fresno County.